All right, today we're going to do some lazy on the couch non-news. And recall how I'm always saying we have to celebrate the wins. We got to always celebrate the wins. Well, I know it can be hard sometimes because it's like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And then sometimes we get a win and then someone seems to snatch our trophy right out of our hand before we can even have a chance to celebrate. That's kind of what happened with the Nobel Peace Prize. I made a post. I was so happy about Maria Corina Machado, Venezuelan freedom fighter, winning the prize. I thought it was so wonderful. It was a woman, divine feminine, the rise of the divine feminine. And most importantly, it wasn't him. The bozo who's been paying people to nominate. The bozo who's been threatening people, saying they better nominate him. And so just the fact that he didn't get it is a win, right? Except not so fast, because this woman apparently not the feminist we were hoping for, because she dedicated it to the head clown. I know, it's unbelievable, right? It's completely, it really strains how is it possible? But this is just a sign that we have a lot of work to do as women. Like the patriarchy has a vice grip around a lot of women, and we got to free the women. We got to free the women who still are in the stronghold of patriarchy. So it's a win, a loss, a win. I'm going to count it as a win because at least he didn't get it. And so that's something. Moving right along to the other wins. The Proud Boys are apparently turning on the head clown, allegedly. And then we had the little performance by Blondie. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. In the big house, in the big house of makers of laws, right? She was supposed to be being held accountable by an oversight committee, doing oversight. Oversight when you want to make sure that everything's on the up and up and people are doing their job. So let's just pay attention to one important part of that testimony, which Heather Cox Richardson pointed out. So follow her if you aren't. When they asked Blondie, hey, we heard there were some pictures of the head clown with some skimpily dressed children, young girls, sitting on his lap or whatever. Do you have those pictures? Have you seen those pictures? And a really simple answer would have been no. He didn't do that. No. She could have just said no, and they could have moved on to the next question. But she didn't do that. And she's a lawyer. And so the fact that she didn't do that suggests that the answer indeed is yes, but she didn't want to perjure herself and say no. So what did she do? She just attacked them. She talked around it. She diverted. She dissembled. She did all the things you do when you can't tell the truth. And this is good. And you know why it's good? It's not good just because you might think, oh, maybe she's an honest, doesn't want to lie under oath. No, she doesn't want to lie under oath because she knows something could happen to her. Why does she think something could happen to her? Because she knows they're not going to be in office forever. And here's the thing. Their plan was to be in office together. They're forever. Their plan was to destroy all the institutions that could ever pursue accountability and justice. That was their plan. So the fact that she's worried about the future, about future prosecutions, means that she knows the circus is on its way out. In other news, and this is not the news, just stories, but in other non-news, you may have heard that a certain head clown fired the chiefs of staff of lots of toy soldier departments and legal advisors, and that may have made you worry, like, oh no, he's destroying the toy soldier department. But here's the thing. The fact that he did that shortly after his failed attempt to rally the troops means that he is aware that he has failed. And he is also aware that they are not behind him. They are not on his side. He doesn't have their support. And so now he's trying to slash and burn what he can because he's probably worried about a toy soldier coup. The leaving Magatonian hashtag is trending. There are more and more reports. And of course, we have all of these high profile former Magatonians like Candy of Candyland who are doing all of these podcasts and creating all these videos. There's all these, veterans and ballistics experts who are all up in arms about the Charlie Chuckle, scenario. And there's been just incredible fracturing on that side, as I predicted. They're all fighting amongst themselves, and there's a whole lot of defection happening. And if you don't believe me, you should believe Representative Swalwell. He just tweeted. He tweeted, X'd something. Anyway, he put a post up saying that the Red Hats are about to defect and throw Head Clown under the bus. And it's kind of an interesting tweet. He claims to be talking to people on that side of the aisle and that this mass defection is about to happen. And it's related to the files, of course. And it kind of makes sense, right? Because they can't all be in it. Yeah, sure. There's some prominent ones that are heavily mentioned that are perhaps have starring roles in the folders of Epi. We know the Head Clown is a star. That's why they had to have 1,000 agents spend hours redacting his name. 1,000. Can you imagine? That's how many times he was mentioned. So we know a lot of them are in it, but, not all of them are in it. And the rest of them are probably tired of being dragged down in the mud to protect those few pervs that are in the folders of Epi. I mean, this whole shutdown of the circus, it's not looking good for anyone. They're not convincing anybody that they are not responsible for the shutdown of their own circus that they are in charge of in every branch, that somehow somebody else from somewhere else who has no power forced them to shut their own circus down. Yeah, no one's buying that. Nobody. So celebrate the wins and stay hopeful, my friends.